Hey everybody, KC here. So I was listening to a podcast the other day in which they were kind of evaluating the media landscape. And one of the observations they made was that the way media properties are going to be evaluated going forward won't necessarily just be about audience size. They're also going to be thinking about audience engagement. It's going to be a very valuable thing. It's one of the reasons a lot of money is going into podcasts right now. In part because while their audiences may be smaller, in fact, their audiences are much more engaged. And I have to say, after 23 plus years of doing Morning Newsbeat, it made me feel pretty good because I think while Morning Newsbeat is not as big as a lot of places, I do think we have a pretty engaged audience. Listen, I give you all the credit for that. But it also made me think that this is a really important approach for retailers to take. Especially independent and regional retailers, right? They're never going to have the kind of size of Amazon or Walmart or Kroger. They're not going to have those kinds of customer bases, but they can strive to have a more engaged customer base and can strive to be more engaged with their customers. That means, of course, engaging more transparently, more effectively, and more directly with shoppers. Now, it's not just about sales and traffic, okay? Although those things are completely legitimately important. I'm not saying anybody should not pay attention to those things. But the question is, are you finding ways to engage with your shoppers more effectively? And also creating ways in which they can engage back with you, whether in store, online, or out in the community. There's different ways to do it. There's multiple platforms you could be using to create engagement between you and your customer base. Are you telling your story effectively and constantly retelling your story and adding new chapters to it? Are you paying attention to your customer stories? Because that may be maybe even more important. I've always loved the Shakespeare line about all the world is a stage where everyone must play a part. And I would suggest as a retailer that your part can't be a solo, or at least it shouldn't be. You're part of an ensemble. You're part of a chorus. Ideally, you're making a beautiful noise as part of that chorus, and you're connecting with everyone who's around you. Listen, so-called linear and legacy media properties have had their day in the sun. Now, they're going to continue to exist for a long time. They're going to continue to make money. But it seems to me no question that they're in decline, moving aside as new kinds of media, new kinds of engaged media, begin to get greater and greater traction. I think that's something that in your business, as retailers, you have to avoid, especially if you're an independent or you're a regional, right? You're smaller. You're not one of the behemoths. You have to look for ways to differentiate yourself from the behemoths. They have enormous advantages, but in strange and interesting ways, they're also enormously constricted. You have to identify what those places are. There are things they cannot do. There are things they will not do. You have to engage. And then you have to engage again and then again. The process never ends. But it seems to me that if done right, the results, the rewards, can be enormously satisfying. That's what's on my mind. And as always, I want to hear what's on your mind.